Welcome to the A.Little.Mental podcast, the place where you can find credible information, resources, and community to help you reach wellness a little mental at a time. I'm your host and founder, Morgan Reed, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. When you ask someone if they go to therapy, sometimes they'll say yes, and other times they'll say some version of the following. Oh yeah, my best friend is like my therapist. Or, of course I go to therapy. The gym is my therapy. Or, church is my therapy, and Jesus is my therapist. So today, we are going to address each of these and talk about why the gym, Jesus, and your friends are great, but they should not be considered actual therapy. So let's get into it. Now, before we jump into these individually, let's talk about why exercise, spirituality, and relationships with others make us feel so good that we actually consider it therapy. When it comes to mental health, each of these things are considered under the category of something called protective factors. Morgan, what are protective factors? So glad you asked. Protective factors are things that can physically, emotionally, and socially strengthen you when life starts lifing. For instance, say Mariah is going through a tough breakup with her partner. So she starts going to the gym to take out some of that anger, and so she feels better because it calms her a bit. She picks up her good book and reflects on a passage that talks about all things working together for her good. That makes her feel empowered about her decision. And she vents to her bestie, who takes her out and helps remind her that she has people in her corner. Now, if Mariah didn't have all of these different supports or protective factors, getting through her breakup probably would have been more difficult and may have made an even longer lasting negative impact. But to take it even further, there may be some things that going to the gym, focusing on her spirituality, and talking to her friends may not address. And that's where therapy could help. So let's get into each piece. Let's start with Mariah going to the gym. Mariah loves going to the gym because it helps her release all the aggression she wishes she could put in probably to her ex's face. When she goes, she feels better, she feels calmer, and she feels some relief after coming out of the gym. This is because the gym is a great choice for something called self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability to recognize and manage your actions and behaviors when things start happening around you or your feelings shift. Giving your body a way to externalize some of these stronger emotions like anger or being upset is amazing, and your body will thank you by releasing something called happy hormones. Happy hormones are what I like to call hormones like dopamine and serotonin that help you feel literally happier and feel less pain. So you going to the gym, pumping up those endorphins and things like that, you add in a fire playlist, which also improves your happy hormones, and that's a fire happy hormone combination. Now, even though exercise is a great form of self-regulation, too much of anything isn't good. On a physical level, going to the gym too much can cause a lot of stress to your body, and not giving your time to rest can be harmful. And if the gym is the only way you're processing things, you will be going a lot. So, being conscious of how often you go and why you go is super important. On a mental level, the gym can help distract and minimize the impact of things going on in your life, but it can't last forever. So even though you may feel good temporarily in the gym, as soon as you get out of the gym, your life is still there. So it won't address all the things going on or for an extended period of time. So let's shift to how therapy can complement this. Let's get back to Mariah's example. For her, going to the gym is a great way to release some of those stronger emotions, but she realizes the longer she's been out of her relationship, the more irritable she actually feels towards her other friends and family, and she's not sure why or where it stems from. Going to therapy can be a great place for Mariah to figure out and pinpoint these triggers, the origin of these stronger emotions, so she can better understand and raise awareness as to why it's spilling over into her other relationships. It can help her complement her self-care routine even more and maximize when and why she's going to the gym in the first place. If Mariah doesn't go to therapy, her irritability towards her other friends and family could get worse, which could end up isolating her from these really important connections and relationships, and therefore lead her to try to figure out how to cope with these stronger emotions in more harmful ways. So bottom line, the gym is a great place to be able to self-regulate, but it's not the only place you should work on the reasons why you need to self-regulate, and therapy is a great option to do the work to hit the origin of the issue. All right, so we've talked about the gym. Now let's shift into the differences between therapy and your spirituality. The way I like to think about the relationship between the two is about a parable of a man who was drowning. This man was drowning and he prayed to God and asked him to help him. A little while later, a boat came by and they said, "Hey, let us help you." The man who was drowning said, "That's okay, God'll save me." The boat goes away. A little while later, another boat comes by. They said, "Hey, can we help you?" He said, "That's okay, God'll save me." That boat goes away. A little while after that, a helicopter comes by and says, "Hey, let us help you." He said, "That's okay, God'll save me." So the man drowns. And so when he goes to heaven, he asks God, "Why didn't you save me?" And God said, "I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter. Why didn't you use them?" Faith and spirituality is a great grounding force in life, but there are tools here and now that can help you get through it as well. And therapy is one of those. Let's walk through it with Mariah. Mariah has been getting more into her faith because she's trying to find a bigger meaning into why she was in that last relationship and try to maintain her hope that she'll be able to get into a better one the next time. She reads her Bible more, she prays more, and she goes to church all the time. But she doesn't understand why, even though she's doing all of this, God hasn't taken away her feelings of loneliness, sadness, and this growing irritability towards her loved ones. And she's losing her patience. Mariah being upset and frustrated makes complete sense because she's increased her spiritual practices, but it doesn't seem to be doing much on the positive end for her well-being. If Mariah doesn't go to therapy, she may end up feeling so frustrated that she loses her faith altogether, making her feel even worse than before. Now, if Mariah decides she does want to try therapy, she can keep it separate from her spirituality, or her spirituality can be the framing of her therapy. If Mariah wanted her beliefs as a framework for her therapeutic dynamic, she can look into something called spiritual-based counseling. Spiritual-based counseling takes your belief system and uses that as a way to help you process your emotions and reflect on your life. Spiritual-based counseling is a really great option for folks who want to integrate their faith into the way that they process in session. Whether it's a formal religion like Christianity or Islam, or you just want somebody who recognizes the importance of you utilizing your crystals, there is someone out there for you who will understand where you're coming from. Bottom line, if your spirituality is an important part of who you are, it can coexist with your therapy. Okay, so we've talked about the gym, we've talked about our spirituality. Now let's talk about our friends. A major difference between your friends and therapists are the type of boundaries in each of those relationships. Therapy sessions are all about you. As soon as that session starts, it's about your life, your feelings, and anything you want to talk about. If you only talked about yourself to your friends, it would be seen as inconsiderate or selfish. Friendships are supposed to go both ways, so there should be equal opportunity for both people to be able to share their concerns, their emotions, and their feelings. If there wasn't an opportunity for both folks involved in that friendship, there would be an imbalance in that relationship, which could end up damaging it altogether. But Morgan, my friends are amazing at giving me great advice. Love that for you, but that does bring me to my next major difference between therapists and friends, which are skill sets. Yes, your friends know you, know all the players in your story, and that's great because it makes it so much more comfortable for you to talk to them about so many different things. And while their input may be well-intentioned, it may not be as well-informed as either of you think it is. Therapists, on the other hand, have multiple degrees and hundreds and thousands of hours in training and experience to help create a safe, non-judgmental environment. So, someone like our friend Mariah could go to a therapist to further explore her origins of irritability and be able to find possible strategies to address it. So let's get back to her story. Mariah recognizes her mood has become a bit more volatile and talks to her friend about it. Mariah's friend also ended up recognizing the shift in her mood and suggested that she might miss her ex and that talking to him may help her get closure and make her feel better about the situation. While a genuine attempt at helping, Mariah's friend doesn't actually know all the details of the breakup, So she thinks it was a lot more amicable than it was. There was actually a lot about that relationship that Mariah's friend didn't know about because Mariah didn't want to feel judged, even though she knew her friend supported her, wasn't sure if she could tell her all the details of the things that unraveled as the relationship went on. And that brings us to another difference between therapists and friends. Therapists aren't typically going to give you straight advice like Mariah's friend did. They may have suggestions or help you walk out different ideas, but they will always lead you to come up with your own conclusions that make you feel most authentic to you. So in Mariah's case, if speaking to her ex was something she wanted to try, talking with her therapist, she may be able to evaluate whether that's really the decision she should make, or if it is something that she does want to pursue, be able to role play and figure out what she wants to say and get out of the interaction so that she can deal with it as healthily as possible. Now, for my loophole folks who are like, what if my friend is a therapist? And to be clear, we love emotionally aware and supportive and intelligent friends. But let's circle back to the first difference between therapists and friends, which are boundaries. Your friend who happens to be a therapist deserves emotional support just as much as you do. So don't take advantage of their professional skill set just because they have it. In friendship, the support needs to go both ways. So we went through a few different things today. We talked about the difference between the gym and therapy, which address different aspects of your self-care routine. We talked about the difference between therapy and your spirituality, which can in fact complement each other. And we talked about the difference between our friends and therapists, namely around the different sort of boundaries and skill sets. So if you want to supplement your friendships, your spirituality, or your gym sessions with therapy, you want to learn more about what to expect in therapy or where to find a therapist, go to our website, A.Little.Mental.org, or follow us on social media, on TikTok, on Facebook, or on Instagram at A.Little.Mental. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to be kind to yourself today.